Amanda, were you able to get Spider-Man tickets?
I did, but I had to wait until the next day, and they were so hard to find.
Yes, and I saw that some people are trying to resell them for like $20,000.
That's crazy. But in honor of it being the official week of Spider-Man, we have Nick, Michael, and Hunter here with us to give us the rundown of all things Spider-Man.
Take it away, guys.
What's up, sneak peekers? I'm Hunter Gatsway here for you with
Nick Flores.
Michael Norris.
And as I'm sure you all know, there are three of us here. And what else are there three of? There's three live-action, feature-length Spider-Men. And so we're going to take a little bit of time here tonight, and we're going to debate our favorite Spider-Man. I will be taking the side of Mr. Tom Holland.
And I'll be taking Andrew Garfield.
And I will be representing the classic Tobey Maguire.
Would you like to start us off, Michael?
Sure. So for Tobey, I do think he really sets the original standard. Tom, Andrew, they both just have terrific takes on the character in different ways, but I think Tobey just has that perfect balance of a very, human, natural Peter Parker. He just has phenomenal chemistry with all the supporting actors, including the villains. And he really just encapsulates what makes Peter Parker just the very grounded, relatable character he is. And I think it was, really neat for, a film taking as much of a risk as Spider-Man, this high-budget production. The fact that they didn't really go with this conventional action star, they went with a more kind of inconspicuous, dramatic actor. And so even though if Tobey isn't necessarily your most charismatic, typical leading man, just the humanity he brings to the character is just what always has made him my favorite.
Well, I've always been a fan of what people have seen as more dramatic and darker toned superhero movies. Like Man of Steel is one of my favorite movies of all time. The Dark Knight trilogy is great. So when I saw The Amazing Spider-Man in theaters for the first time, I absolutely loved it. I loved Andrew's take and Sony's new take on a modern outcast, a modern nerd in high school. It's Andrew Garfield as Peter. So I loved that whole emo skater vibe that he had, and I loved the suit. The suit I thought was super cool. It was a really interesting take on the suit. And I loved how he stuck to the comic Spider-Man where he always had, I think Andrew Spider-Man had the best quips of all the Spider-Man in his movies. I think he really did. And I feel like he also had the best relationship out of all the Spider-Man. I think his Peter and Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy were phenomenal. I loved their chemistry. They were the main reason why I loved those two movies, I think.
Well, I think it's important to respect where it came before, and I think Tobey and Andrew are both great Spider-Man in their own ways. I think what Tom Holland does with this character is something truly special. I think he's the first Spider-Man that comes across like a real teenager, in my opinion. He is just a kid thrust into a world much larger than he can handle. If you've seen his progression from Civil War all the way to Far From Home, it's the progression of a kid who's just out of his depth. He's just an innocent guy. He's been thrust with all this power that he doesn't really know what to do with, and so he's out of his element. And I think Tom Holland does a great job of being that lighthearted Spider-Man, the guy who helps old ladies cross the street and fights bank robbers at the local bank, to also being a guy who can, go off to space and fight Thanos. And it's just, he carries the weight of the fun side of Spider-Man and the emotional toll of being a hero, I think, better than these two guys do. And he captures both Spider-Man and Peter Parker the best. And while I like Tobey's Peter, and I think Andrew's a great Spider-Man, I think Tom is the best mixture of both. And he's just so fun as the character and captures that youthful vibe that I always got reading Spider-Man comics growing up.
You want to go?
I do agree with the age thing. I remember seeing the original Spider-Man movies with Tobey for the first time, and I was thinking, man, this guy, he looks like he's an adult already. He looks like he's already ending college, and then halfway through the first movie, he's graduating high school, and it threw me for a loop. But I think with Andrew, whenever I saw Andrew's, I just felt like he was, I could just feel that he was in high school. Much like Tom's, I did see that he was like a kid with Tom. But with Andrew, I felt like, okay, he's more of like a high school student, I think, of like a modern high school student, I think, at the time as well, with the whole, he's got like the long coat, he's got the skateboard, he's skating everywhere. I thought it was really, really great.
That movie's very 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, with Andrew, definitely one of the things I always found interesting about his Spidey in particular is you do see kind of his develop. You do see the Spidey persona kind of develop. An Amazing Spider-Man 1, it's sort of interesting. He definitely plays kind of the sort of arrogant jerk Spider-Man you see in a lot of the early kind of Stan Lee, Steve Ditko comics. But by the time you get to Amazing Spider-Man 2, he's like a completely different Spider-Man. He does become that friendly neighborhood kind of take on the character. And I think that's kind of one of the things with Tom that is, I've been kind of looking for more of. Homecoming really did have this good, it's okay to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man message. But I feel like that kind of gets thrown out the window in Far From Home. And, you have Tom, who's just such a naturally charismatic Spider-Man, but you don't really give him that very classic, very authentic Spider-Man to work with. You feel like he's more defined by, kind of the larger stakes of what we've seen in Infinity War and Endgame, Far From Home, and now, we're going to see the multiverse in No Way Home. So hopefully we get to kind of see a bit more of that, and he shows his potential in the college trilogy if that's happening, because, from the second I saw Civil War and I did see that kid Spider-Man, I was like, that's it, this could be the definitive Spider-Man. But we just haven't seen him kind of, reach that point in kind of a more fleshed out way that I think we saw with Tobey and Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, I think both these guys are great. As I said earlier, I think that Tom can sometimes be hit by this, Iron Boy Jr. critique that people lot against the. See that, absolutely. But I think it is an interesting take on the character, and placing him within this larger universe, you do have to fit him in there. Versus these two actors both had their own universe with no other pre-established heroes. So while they're trying to fit him into the universe, I think they do the best they can. I think that people misremember how much Iron Man is really in that first movie. He's only kind of in it for a couple scenes, and I think especially Homecoming, he gets most of the runtime to shine himself. And other than that, we've mostly seen him in team films. I do think it struggles a little bit in Far From Home with just the weight of the events of Endgame, but overall, I've just loved what Tom Holland's brought to this character. And I think I also would be remiss if we didn't bring up the fantastic performance that is Jake Johnson in Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah.
Just playing
Jake
a
Johnson's
fantastic older Peter Parker, someone that's been grizzled, knocked down by the world, who's not the happy-go-lucky kids that these three guys are. And I'll be really interested to see what happens in No Way Home, because I don't think the three of us are going to agree on who our favorite Spider-Man is here tonight, but maybe we don't have to, because I think all three of these gentlemen will be making an appearance in a short 2 weeks in No Way Home. And so we're going to briefly discuss some of our theories for No Way Home. So, Nick, what about you? Get us started.
I think that so far there's only 5 villains, right? You've got Lizard, Sandman, Electro, Doc Ock, and Goblin. I think it's very weird that they're only having 5 villains, considering one thing that everybody remembers about Spider-Man is that he has a Rogues Gallery team of 6 villains, the Sinister Six, and I think that 6th villain is going to be Mysterio. I think Jake Gyllenhaal is going to come back as Mysterio. He's probably going to play some kind of trick on Spider-Man, because I remember during production there were set photos of these signs, believe Mysterio, so I think that's going to happen.
I think we're going to see Spidey lose someone. It is kind of that unfortunate Parker luck. I mean, what's always defined, Tobey and Andrew is, how they overcome the challenges of loss of people like, Uncle Ben or Harry or Gwen or Otto Octavius. And we haven't really seen Tom face that struggle yet, other than, Tony Stark. So, whether it's Aunt May or Ned or even MJ, there's just so much ambiguity of what's going to happen to these supporting characters. So I think, sadly, might possibly see one of them go.
Yeah, and I think my final theory for this discussion as we wrap it up is, we're getting the Spider-Man back. We're getting Mr. Charlie Cox as Daredevil. I think we have another big actor who will be joining the fold. I think we're getting Mr. Tom Hardy as Venom, as portrayed in the post-credit scene for Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I think he's going to be coming into this story. And so that's all we have for you tonight with the Spider-Man panel. I'm Hunter.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Michael.